Hello and welcome to this week's Upper Deck. I'm Lynn, that's Jonna, and we got stuff to lay down right after this. Hey everybody, hey Jonna, how you doing today, Jonna?
Hey, good morning. I'm good, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and to those who have a harder time with today. We're thinking of you as well and sending you love. But yeah, I hope all the mamas feel all the love today. So I got my pink on for the
Yeah,
moms.
yeah, good for you. I do not, but my heart is red every day. And happy Mother's Day to everybody. And a happy Mother's Day extends to so many different kinds of moms. And like you said, Jonna, there's those of us that are missing our moms. I'm in that club that nobody wants to be a part of. There are men stepping up because there is no mom or mom left town. And people that just are mom figures and on and on and on. So if you're making a difference in the life of a child, regardless of your gender, we honor you today. And so hey, we got some of the crew lining in. So thank you so much. Hey, NFEFJ, Frank, Dev, so good to see you in Peach Mall. Yep, I think that's everyone we got so far. Hey Joe, Trivia Joe, good to see you, my friend. And speaking of trivia, let's start off the show with the trivia question of the week from our friend Spencer, who continues to contribute every week for us while he's dealing with some health concerns. So I've had some technical difficulties, but I think Jonna, thank goodness for her partners, is able to step in. So I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. So here it is from Spencer. Who was the starting Yankees pitcher when the new to MLB Tampa Bay Devil Rays faced the Yankees in 1998? What I'm going to emphasize here is the first time that the Yankees faced the Devil Rays. Who was the pitcher? Who was the starting pitcher? So we'll get the answer to you at the end of the show. So this was quite a week. We ended that home stand 5-1, which was, hey, we'll take it, right? And we started the dawn of the bats and saw some really good action. I just want to say right off the top that Rodon showed up. The good Rodon showed up this week, and it was great to see him with his 5 1/3 innings that were really solid, and 16 strikeouts across those innings. So that was good to see. Um, what anything you want to say about the beginning of the week before we get into this current situation we're in, Jonna?
Yeah, I mean, man, what a fun series that was because we had Judge and Stanton going, hitting bombs in the same game against the Astros, and Judge kind of, I guess you could say, kind of made history a little bit with his third longest home run of his career, and
Oh, yeah.
Stanton with the back to back, the hardest hit home runs of the year, which was fun. Um, so yeah, anytime we have a chance to beat up on the Astros, I'm like, this is golden.
And I know I had some nerve being mad we didn't sweep. I should take the money and run, but I was so damn pissed that we didn't sweep.
I know. And we had 9 straight on them, and so I was like, oh, 10 straight.
I
There's just
mean,
something about the double digits.
was it really too much to ask? Because it gives them just a little something still, to say. But boy, that home run derby was fun, and
Yes. How odd was it that Kyle Tucker hit the first home run of the first 2 games, and then it was like it was like Groundhog's Day.
Yep, absolutely. And then, luckily there was just fizzle, 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 and the rest of the team. It was kind of nice to see Altuve drowning. I mean, granted it's in 3 feet water, but drowning in not producing at all at the plate. Talk about rent free in our heads, uh,
Yes.
in his head rather. So yeah, so it was still enjoyable, and I'll take what I could get. And those bats, boy, I don't know who needed to see those bats flying more, them or us. I'm going to say us personally and selfishly. And for all the Stanton talk, and we did some talk about Stanton last week, and I know our bros also talked about Stanton this week, which I greatly appreciated, because how could you not have positive vibes about Stanton right now? And I think most impressively, that we have to both manage expectations about and feel good about, and decrease Stanton hate nozzle just a little, lower just a little, because he is he's not just hitting for power and long haul. He still can't help himself. If he's gonna, hit a line drive and get to second base, it's still like probably velo 250 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No
um,
kidding.
so great and to me, I think that's not an aberration or a mistake. I really feel that part of, and this is just my take, and maybe it's a hot take, is that part of his adjustment over the winter with losing some muscle and realigning himself physically had to do with, what, hitting for power all the time, every at bat, is part of my Achilles heel. And
Yeah.
to see him doing a mix, I think is great for him and obviously great for the team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He's always so well composed, and he really doesn't display a lot of emotion. But I feel like even in the last few games, like he has been doing a little more of that, which I think, like, again, those vibes are high, and I think that's important, and he's kind of leaning into it. So it looks like he's having more fun.
Yeah, 100% more fun. So when Stanton hits the ball, hey Michael, good to see you. He still hits it as harder than anybody. Absolutely, yeah. You're backing up with what we were just saying. 100% right. And Joe saying he'd be very happy if Stanton can hit 250. Yeah,
Hey, he's at 229 right now, so
yeah.
not far off.
I think it's possible, and we'll have to see what the percentage of home runs ends up being and what the numbers are. And I kind of like that there's some polls running around Twitter this week about how many home runs do you expect from Stanton this season. And that's why I say, we still have to temper expectations. I say it every week about something or another, and so I'm going to say it again about Stanton. But if we can at least compare what we've seen so far to the last 2 seasons, probably even 3 seasons, we've got a much better Stanton on our hands. And so what will make me go off is, like, just buy him out now, trade him out, get rid of him. If I see that, then you're going to get the not nice Lynn in your ear. Um, Li, hey, good to see you back with us. So he says when Dominguez comes back, Stanton has to hit well to keep that spot away from Dominguez. What do you say about that, Jonna?
I disagree. I disagree, and just because the Yankees are loyal to Stanton, and they should be because they're paying him a lot of money, so they should have faith in him if they have him for that long and for that much money. I think Dominguez, what did he have, 6 games in the bigs last year? Is that right? Yes, the strike zone says, and that's exactly the point that I was about to make, is that he's going to have to play a lot of minor league before they're ready to bring him up. the way that it is. He's not going to come in and like they're going to just slide him right into somebody's spot. He's going to play a lot of minor league first.
Yeah, we got to remember that he's been out a really long time. He's never been, he's had, like Jonna said, very few plate appearances in the show. And yeah, we need a pretty substantive sample size before we're
Yeah.
going to swap out at someone like, maybe if we had Grisham instead of Stanton, there'd be a conversation. There's a lot of Grisham hate flying around this morning, by the way. But Eli, I think that's going to be a long time coming. But yeah, so I'm glad to hear, Pete, that you think that, and NFB, you as well. And Joe's getting right down to brass tacks. Hal's not going to pay him to just sit.
Yeah. And I
So
think like people tend to forget well, maybe they don't. That's a bad way to put it. People don't forget what a horrible season we had last year, but that's why Dominguez was brought up. Like we did not have anybody out and left. We didn't, like I kind of question whether he would have even been brought up if like we were in the situation we're in now, where obviously we do not need more outfielders right now.
right, right. And
So
this isn't a matter of hugging prospects. This is a matter of you use the season guys that we have while they're hot. I mean, that's what the farm is also there for.
yeah.
And Michael's saying, might they use Stanton, Verdugo, and Dominguez in some kind of rotating basis? I don't see Stanton in the field much at all. I think he's our stationary bench, DH on the bench, and platooning when he needs to. And maybe there will be some playing around with Doogie and Dominguez if and when that time comes. You also have to remember, I think anyway, if Dominguez comes back and absolutely rockets through the minors, then doesn't he become a fantastic trading piece as well? And I wouldn't say that that's off to anyone's minds in the front office if you're going to get top value for him for something else. Just a lukewarm take there. And so yeah, he has to totally prove himself. So I think that's the story there. And Li, I see the statute you're spitting out. And there's a lot of things about stats that don't always align with what you're seeing in the current moment and in real time. And what we've seen so far, more than not, is production from Stanton. At least in the DH role. So and looking back in time doesn't help us right now. So yeah, and Dominguez might replace Stanton. We have a whole lot of time to think about that even being a possibility. And so and look who's pivoting us to the next thing. FJ is saying, I'm less concerned with the offense than I am with Stroman and Cortez. They seem to have early bad innings, and the offense is forced to play catch up. And yeah, they're forced to play catch up, and when they're playing catch up, are they even producing? What I will say about Nestor yesterday is that he just didn't, he pitched a lousy game. Don't get me wrong, but the bats were, crickets chirping in the night yesterday. So, and there's been a whole lot of that going on. But yeah, I think that, Jono, if we were going to pivot to hot takes, this would actually be mine. Is I think some of you might have noticed that I have been really against the notion of taking Cortez out of the rotation when Cole returns. But I keep Stroman in the rotation before I keep Cortez in the rotation.
That is so wild because we have a very similar hot take this week. So
Oh,
maybe it's not so hot. Or we're just like in each other's heads, maybe.
maybe,
We're already vibing.
or both. Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess I should say it's a hot take for me because I love my Nestor. I've been a supporter, even with how under Nestor, like he's been this season so far, but um, I've been adamant about that because there were rumblings about that all during the hot stove season, and I was like, hell to the no. Let's not panic. Let's see who we get, and there's others before him. So, yeah, they're and so Michael's saying at this point, Stroman and Cortez are no more than fourth or fifth starters. So yeah, I think that it would be Cortez over Stroh. I think Stroh, he needs to improve his arsenal. There he's throwing down those fastballs and passing them out like candy, and the Rays were sopping it up, and that seems to be the thing that he doesn't even have to tip the pitch. It's on billboards across the country. And so I'd love to see, Blake do some work with him on, some other pitches beyond the two that he relies on all the time. Um, yeah, and sometimes at FJ, I agree with you, and I also think that with Stroman, it's because he doesn't pivot. I think when he's realizing that what he's throwing down isn't working, and I'm not blaming this on the catchers per se, but because who knows what he's really saying no to. I've never really paid attention to that. But um, he'll work out over Cortez. Yeah, because Stroman gets in his head more than Cortez does during a game. That's one thing Cortez has over a lot of pitchers is that
Mhm.
it takes a lot to get him, into his head.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
yeah, and sometimes Boone takes too long to take him out. Um, oh, and Frank, that's so interesting. Frank's saying I think Heel might end up in the bullpen. Um, Heel looked really like hot the last um the last outing. And I know I'm only
Mhm.
just talking about the last outing. I think maybe the last two. Uh
Last two,
yeah.
yeah. Um, he's increasingly going more inning or like more pitches, going further into the game. And that's my hot take is that I think like we have a couple bad problems on our team or good problems, I mean, which is like, what are we going to do with the outfield when Dominguez comes back? And what are we going to do with the rotation? And like, we have a couple of really good problems to have. And I think Luis Hill is like campaigning for a job. And right now, I think he shouldn't go anywhere. I don't think Schmidt should go anywhere, which he won't. But um, that's my hot take. I don't think don't send Hill back to the bullpen. I think Cortez at this point, but
Yeah, absolutely. I think that um youth on his side, and he came back strong from being out. And Nestor has some stuff to figure out. And so um it hurts me to say it, and I'm hemming and hawing a little bit because I kind of feel like I'm cheating on him. But I think that's what the deal is going to be, and you know, and oh, I want to say just strike zone. I think we're totally agreeing. He's been your best starter in the rotation. I'd say yes, although and then piggybacking with what FJ's saying, I wanted to mention the numbers from Schmidt's outing the other night. So 6-2-3 scoreless versus the Rays that were really ready for him. 24 batters, and 14 of those batters ended at 3 pitches or less. So I mean, this was Schmidt. Like, I I was very excited. I hadn't seen this level of Schmidt before. And of course, having Trevi, as a battery mate, always helps with the calls. But Trevi was like a talk about dogs in the yard. Trevi was hunting down and scoping out for those base stealers Friday night, and that also really helped with the outcome. But Schmidt was really, to me, like a bump up in the rotation is sort of in consideration here, possibly, if he keeps up this level. Um,
I just wanna say quickly, I think Frank, is probably and I commented this too, I don't disagree with him, like, I am just speaking from my preference, but I do think realistically, he's probably right about who goes to the bullpen at the end of all of this. I mean, that was their plan from the get-go, and you know the Yankees, he's young, and like he said, he's had battled injuries, and I wouldn't be surprised, if that is what they do.
and I'd be happy to I'd be happy because I'm giving up on Nestor. And so yeah, and yeah, he should be given the opportunity to build up more and stretch out more, and he was kind of just tossed right in. So yeah, and well, and Michael, more so, it's not so much about Heel's experience in the bullpen. I think Heel would do just fine either way. And yeah, I mean, but yeah, undoubtedly he has the least experience of all of them in the rotation right now. Hey CW, hey Sunil, good to see you joining us. I want to talk about Cole before we pivot away from the pitching theme for a minute because eh, Jana, I didn't know whether to put this under our dogs in the yard for the week or my awe moment for the week. But if any of you caught the video of Cole in the field in the backfield with God, what's his name? Oh God. Um he was showing it was Heel. He was showing Heel um holding Heel's hands with the translator saying, like, break this down. It was like this whole video of like he was holding hands. I'm like, what are they gonna do? Like the cha cha? Like I didn't even know. And he looked so puzzled, but he was literally, and then towards the end, like Cole backed up and demonstrated what he meant, like and mimicked the setup and release, and then went back to holding him and saying, he's like breaking his hands apart and positioning his mitt and moving his hand for him. And I just thought, how many ace pitchers, Cy Young winners, pitchers in general take that extra mile the way Cole does. We see it in the dugout, and that's because we're watching the game. But this was when this was pregame, early pregame, nobody in the stadium, and he's out there mentoring a young kid, and it just it just made me want to buy everything with 45 on it. And I already have 45 on things. So
Mm.
I just think that um it was a feel good moment.
I
And
do think, like, yeah, we talked about this last week too, how he is just even when he's not able to like be on the mound, he's contributing to the team in such a like large way. He's part of the family. He's dad, you know?
yeah, absolutely. And he's also, yes, and absolutely, CWE. He's the captain of our pitchers. And but he's also one of the co-captains alongside Rizzo for Judge too, because I see him yammering in the ears of some players too. With an iPad sometimes even. I think that because he analyzes every single at bat and pitch. He does not. He's going pitch to plate, and following the batters on the bases. And so I know he's talking about baseball IQ and why'd you go for that second bag and all that stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, he loves to talk. He can't help himself. Um, and,
Yeah.
and maybe guys get tired of it. Who knows? But I hope that everyone's like drinking in what he must be spitting out. But I think it was Curry who posted the video, maybe Hokey. Just go look for it on Twitter because it was like, people, let me tell you about my best friend. Like, had those vibes. I made me myself. That was Courtship of Betty's father.
Oh,
I'm really, really old. Hey, Karen, my sister, good to see you. Happy Mother's Day, sis. So that was not a hot take, but an awe take, I think.
yeah,
Um,
and CWE says Cole missing time lit a fire under Rodon, and I agree. And so I feel like there's also been some um like blessings in disguise maybe for the team. The rotation has just really, I don't know, powered it. Like they took things by the reins and did what they had to do, and they're holding down the fort.
yep, yep, 100%. And Frank, 100% to you as well. There's no Jacob Ellsbury in this man's blood. You know where he is all the time, and it's in the dugout, and obviously on the field at 10 o'clock in the morning. When he's working on his own rehab, working on the future of a very young pitcher. I'm gonna wax poetic again, so I'm gonna stop myself. Um, but speaking of how he's doing with his recovery, they're saying that this was yesterday, that he is continuing to extend the length of his pitches through with the stadium today. um, and here's something impressive about the current lineup. Without him in the lineup, our pitchers are at 3.39 ERA, our starting pitchers. Who would have ever thought to dream of that without Cole?
Yeah.
Especially when you think of when we were out from Judge and what happened to our team average offensively.
I
Um,
mean, going into yesterday, everyone had a below 3 ERA until Nestor had his start yesterday. So, like, that's alone is so impressive. In fact, we were one of two teams this week who, up to this point, had like everyone had a below 3 ERA, and I think the Pirates were the other, or no, not the Pirates, the Phillies. The Phillies were the other team. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Cole is averaging 89 miles per hour now, and yeah, he threw all of his pitches yesterday. It sounded like so.
yeah. And then there's DJ. So the news on DJ yesterday was that he's up in Tampa. So when I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe he and Cole will be tossing to each other. But no, he's getting some rehab in Tampa all this coming week, to work on his defense and, I
Yes.
guess his overall conditioning before even like doing any sort of rehab assignments. So it looks like my June prediction is not feeling so ridiculous. Um, but that's it on DJing, not helping with my suspicions there. Jonna, where do you want to go next in terms of our usual places to go?
Oh, maybe we can talk about the dogs who's in the doghouse, which we've done a little bit of that already. But
Yeah, but there's been one name conspicuously missing. Uh, Go ahead, say it for me, partner.
Glaber Day.
Labor, Labor Day. No, nothing, nada.
No, friend. And not even like you talked last week about his defensive performance, which like that has been an ongoing issue. This week I felt that it was his fault the other night, the base running.
Yeah.
Like why would you not run on 3 or on 2 outs? Don't they teach you that in T-ball? Like with 2 outs, you're running.
Right. Yeah. Maybe they didn't have T-ball where he grew up. I don't know, but um, but the really maddening thing is, it's in him because he has the moments where he's full on in both directions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even this week, I saw him turn a really excellent play, a hard to catch low long line drive that he, dove and scooped for and still got the ball to Riz in time. Like,
Yeah.
why can't we have that guy all the time? And so, Sunil, I don't know. Don't push Mr. to my Arnold with accent saying his name. Okay. I don't know. Um, see, so Joe's asking, it seems like every ball Torres hits is soft. So, well, the one home run we got out of him wasn't a torture. Um, he's been torture, but that one wasn't a torture, Torchatr. Um, yeah, I don't know. So, Joe, maybe you're heading in the direction of isn't there an injury we don't know about? Is this the hidden injury of the season we're going to find out about? I don't know, but oh, okay, Sunil. Yeah, so I'm from the Bronx, and and I say I'm from the Bronx, even though technically I slept in the border of the Bronx, but all my schooling, all my friends. So yeah, I got a Bronx accent. So it's Gleba. I had it before Arnold did because I'm sure I'm older than him. I'm older than dirt. But yes, okay, now I got your joke. And so and oh and Joe, you've said that I think you have actually noted this before, and or actually I think people were saying this about Stanton for a while. Maybe he does need to get to Sterling Optical. I don't know. And our medical team certainly, isn't one to proactively, diagnose things. So, um, and Karen, we all wonder what's going on inside his head, and is it white noise the majority of the time? Because, yeah, I mean, we relied on him so much second half of the season, especially last year. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we got without Judge. So it's maddening because it's hard to put a finger on. But yeah, he's in my doghouse this week for sure.
Yeah, well, and this week especially, he had one hit and 15 at bats, and he has a .067 batting average in the
Yeah.
last 7 days.
Yeah, and he's right at the Mendoza line overall. I think when I checked yesterday, it was 2.07. Put the decimal point where it belongs.
You figure it out.
his batting his batting average is 207. Let me say it that way.
But speaking of dogs, we've talked about the bad dogs, but we should talk about some of the good dogs um, before we pivot to down on the farm.
Yeah, do it.
But I want to throw Rizzo out there this week as a good dog because he seems to really be clicking. He seems like pre CTE Rizzo. To me, I feel like he's back.
Yeah, I think there can't be any question about that. Um, we don't win that game without him. And I also think this is where just plain old vibing works, and where or lineup construction matters, because there's something just really special linking among the 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters right now. We just got to extend a link to Volpe, who was
Yeah.
also borderline for me this week. Um,
Well, Volpe in the last week seems to be clicking again. He had like a real lull during obviously like the Orioles series. And then in the homestand, it seemed like seems like he's kind of coming back to it too, because he did have the best batting average in the last week. Um,
there.
he had 2 home runs. He had, yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of strikeouts, but his on base percentage is getting a little bit better, I feel like, in the last like 10 days or so. Because you're
Yeah,
right, he was slumping a little bit there.
Yeah, and everyone's gonna have them, and we shouldn't really be berating them until they really deserve it. And let's face it, I'll take half of Volpe any day because the half on the field is what we need, and we could look forward to another Gold Glove this season.
Yes.
The way he's been performing on the field. And hey, Jonathan, you're here. Good to see you, my friend. Um, and so for me, in terms of dogs on the field, it was a lot of the usuals from last week, but I did also want to add Schmidt and Heel to that for all the reasons we just discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, and Strike Zone saying something interesting. Um, yeah, there's been a lot of talk. We've all been kind of debating, is he really, the leadoff guy? Because let's face it, I'm not sure DJ is going to be the leadoff guy ever again.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And so we have to figure that out pretty damn fast. But what do you think in there, Jonna and Chat, with what NFE is saying? I tend to agree.
I like I just still really like Verdugo in that cleanup spot, and I just still don't know who could possibly be the leadoff. So I think
Yeah,
I still think we ride with Volpe, and I think um, maybe he just needs a little bit more time. You know?
right. Maybe so. I mean, I guess it's hard to remember that he's also still a neophyte. He's still a young kid with a Gold Glove. And so granted he's a big and hardy 25-year-old now. But yeah, it's something that typically, I don't know, maybe it should be Soto.
Strike
Um,
Zone has a good point. John Birdie, possibly. That guy, like, that could be a hot take um, that maybe Birdie should be in the lineup right now because he, or can more consistently, because, yeah, I, I mean, he's kind of hot at the plate.
he is, but then the question immediately becomes what happens to Cabrera?
I think Cabrera in, Birdie in, Glaber out.
Outfield.
Like,
Oh,
out.
out. Wait. Outfield. I'm like, wait, no, she can't mean outfield.
No, not outfield. No,
I
I
knew
mean,
as soon as I
Glaber,
said it because
yeah,
I'm trying to
Glaber
comprehend.
on the bench.
Right, but Cabrera out too on the bench?
No, no, Cabrera and Birdie in the
Oh,
lineup,
gotcha.
and Glaber out.
Friends, don't let friends not have caffeine before doing a show.
I need more myself, so I'm not always articulate. But yes, that's what I meant. Cabrera at second, Birdie at third, Glaber on the bench.
I mean, no one wants to be inside my head, but I kind of wish you could so you would know
You're
how
like, what
it
the
is
hell is
right
she
now.
talking about? He can't play the outfield.
It's never you, it's always me. And my technological / caffeine deprived ways. Sidiel, thank you. But I dated a stegosaurus for a while, but I appreciate the comment. Yeah, and Karen agrees, no DJ. Yeah, and Strike Zone's with you. He's saying, shift Cabrera to second. I'm not mad at that. Yeah, because and I'd like that in the short term. Keep Birdie at third, like he was because Cabrera took a couple of days off, and do that. I'd like to not see Glaber in the lineup today. Maybe you made that happen, NFA, and we just don't know it yet. So I'm gonna have to call you for some psychic predictions if we see this configuration today. I'd actually really like that.
And I hate to say it, and I hope the Glaber lovers don't come for me because you know what? I've been a Glaber, like I've stood behind him this whole time, but this year it's just, you can't deny it, right? So I feel like, I don't know, who needs a second baseman at the trade deadline?
I
You know,
I don't
like
know.
maybe he could be a trade piece for us.
Yeah, I mean, what I really hope they don't eventually do with Glaber, and we've seen it with other players, is I hope they don't leave him dangling. Like cut the cord as soon as you know that you plan to cut the cord. We're ready for it, clearly. Hopefully, just, get Cashman to listen to this. We'll be okay if you do that. Just take care of him because, he's another one that, face it, is going to turn into, a platinum glove second baseman or shortstop, with the Rockies. So, like, just make him be the big dog somewhere else, and so that we could get down to our business. And, Michael, I think that's where we're all agreeing is it's time to bench him, but not for punishment, for the good of the team. Oh, I guess the lineup's out because parents saying Glaber is in today. Shh. Okay. Well, we'll have to advise after the fact. So you were responding, bullpen support. I missed about what, Jana.
Oh, so the strike zone said the Glaber has no value though. So
Ah,
what do you get in return? But I said maybe bullpen support.
yep, yep. We're not done with pitchers. I think we knew that going in. But oh, and NFE is saying he thinks he's going to let him play out his contract. Okay, and let him go. When it's up. So, well, to me, I'm good with that as long as we see better Glaber ball,
Yeah.
and many more Glaber days, because I don't know if I want him around in the postseason. So, but we'll have to see where we go with that. Um, yeah. So, and then I know that you had some dogs in the in the yard news for us. You got some prospect stuff to talk to us
Oh
about?
yeah, I've got some dogs on the farm.
Oh, on the farm, rather. Yeah, let's go
So
on the farm.
I'll start with Cody Petit, which has been a guy that I've been following now ever since he had his excellent start with the Yankees in Cleveland. He got his third win last night. So he still seems to be raking down in the minors. I was reading Spencer Jones did like a whole revamp of his swing over the winter time, and so he's looking a lot more like how Rizzo is at the plate. So he relaxed things a lot, and so they kind of are comparing him to Rizzo and like Corey Seager. So I was just like reading an article about that and found that was really interesting. Um, Oswald Peraza, he's doing his rehab stint. So he was transferred this weekend from Tampa Tarpons to Somerset. So that's
Oh,
exciting.
yeah.
Yes. And then you mentioned the Martian. He is getting ready to start a 2-week stint where he'll be DHing for the Tampa Tarpons. So they said they anticipate this week, Tuesday or Wednesday, he'll be starting that. He'll start out with Tampa, do a 2-week stint, DHing for them, and then they'll reassess at that point. So that's also really exciting. And holy cow, it seems like how did that come around so fast?
Yeah. I mean, and it kind of plays right into everything we just spent a lot of time talking about, Adam. Like, okay.
Yes, yeah. And then one more guy that I could have put him in a lot of our categories today. He could have been a dog in the yard. It could have been an awe moment too. Tommy Canley made his first rehab appearance this week with Tampa. And then yes, and then he's going to make another one today with Tampa, and then he'll be heading to Somerset for like 3 games. But he's been rehabbing in Tampa with Lou Trevino and Scott Efros. So he's been doing that and working out at the complex there in Tampa. But so the one thing that I just was like, oh, he bought Chick-fil-A and Dunkin' Donuts for all those guys, the Tampa Tarpons team. He's just so sweet. Yeah. And
Oh,
he they interviewed him and he's like, all the nutritionists probably hate me, but I don't care because that's what I would have wanted anyway. So he's treating those guys really good. And I guess he's been working with them too. And he said it's been really rewarding for him to pass some, intel and some tips on to those younger guys. So
Oh, look at him trying to be all Cole 2.0.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and you know what? He's so good just for in that Cole-like way for the bullpen and bringing that energy and building that community out there. Because he's a huckster and he's corny and he pranks and all those things, but is still a respectable art that people can really learn from. So, oh,
Yep.
Tommy, I hope you can hear me. We love you. We
We
want.
can't wait for you to be back.
I know. No, that just made me so excited. That's a lot of good stuff happening down in the farm. Is there anyone else cropping up?
Oh, I follow that was a good one, by the way. But I do follow the Hudson Valley Renegades too, and Reggio, that name.
Rock
He was our like fourth round draft pick last year. But he's been clicking at the plate down in Hudson Valley. So follow them on Twitter and you'll get a lot of good stuff. They have they have a really funny social media page.
Yeah. Rock Riccio wasn't a non-roster invitee, was he?
I think he was.
The name. I mean, it's a name you remember. I've heard
Yeah,
that name, and now I have to go back and I think maybe he
I
was.
think you're right. Yep, I
Um,
think he was.
and yeah, 100%. If you live anywhere near, if you're in the tri-state area, you got to go to Poughkeepsie and catch a Renegades game. Just like if you don't want to take the train up to the Hudson Valley, get out to a Cyclones game in Coney Island.
Yeah,
The experience is just, and not that they're on par with each other league wise, but yeah, go. It's a whole different experience, and it's perfect for baseball lovers. And if you're into scouting the prospects, yeah, take the trip to Poughkeepsie, especially once the leaves start turning. It's just beautiful. Just my little travel tip um, for you. But um, yeah, and so Clay Holmes has a 0 ERA. Yep, I noticed that this morning. I was looking at some stats before we jumped on CWE. So yeah, and I already came out of the closet as a Clay Holmes lover last weekend. That was my hot take last week.
yeah,
But yeah, and you know who I also want to give a shout out to is Luke Weaver. Um, who is really, I know we need him where and when we need him, but I'm watching his future because I think that he could grow into the closer role. And who knows if we'll ever need him the way we needed to pull some guys from the pen at some point. Huge. I just hope he holds on to him
yeah.
because not just because he's corny and makes funny jokes, but he's really producing, especially lately. So I have my eye on him.
Yep, same. He had a few, obviously, I think I said this last week. He started off a little rough, but man, he has like really redeemed himself. He seems comfortable now.
Right, right. So, and him and Canely in the bullpen,
Yeah.
I'm gonna want that mic'd up. Off.
Yes.
Um, so is there anything else, Jonna, before we head to wrapping up for the week with the
Well, yeah, I will just quickly say that I was glad to see the Twins had their winning streak snapped from them before we get there because that's just like a little less pressure for us then.
right?
They've been hot and they were on a 12-week or 12 game winning streak, and that was the longest winning streak I think they've had since 1991. So I was
Wow.
just like, whew, you know,
Wow.
we don't need to be in the middle of that.
Wow. And as much as numbers sometimes don't mean much, even with everything you just said, I compared the teams before I jumped on too, and it's not so very, very tight between us, but we got some good, separation across the table on them, but not enough to relax.
Yeah.
And let's face it, the Guardians were harder than they were supposed to be. The Brewers, did us in. We got to treat everybody, like they're Baltimore. Can you believe I'm saying that as opposed to like Dodgers or Angels? But that's the truth right now. And then we have the White Sox after that.
Yep.
Um, back at home. So, that's the week ahead of us. And oh, Strike Zone's asking an interesting question. When Kaylee gets back, does Tonka get DFA'd? Jonathan says he thinks so.
Yeah, especially if we keep picking up all these guys that are getting like put on waivers and stuff, because we just picked another one up this week from the Rays. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
right. And that was like when people saw that on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, he'll be gone tomorrow. He's going to be, moved away." Yeah, and FJ, exactly. Don't sleep on the Royals either.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the whole AL Central, like, not bad.
yeah, yep. Hell, I'm even going to say, don't sleep on the Rockies. We can't afford to sleep on anybody. We got to get 28 this year. Period. So no sleeping. And no dismissing anybody. And so yeah. Actually, Michael, Marinaccio has waivers. Have options rather. So I think he's going to be, taxi squatting more than some of the others. That's one that popped into my head when I saw that. What else do you have? Anything? Any? Everyone done for and ready for the answer to the trivia question? It's going to
All
be a
right,
seven-minute
let me
answer.
throw it up for you.
Here it is. If you guessed El Duque, you are correct. Orlando Hernandez. And it was El Duque's first MLB appearance.
Sorry,
Woo! Woo!
my mouse got a little happy there.
It would have been me. It was El Duque's first MLB appearance, June 3rd, 1998. Yankees 7, Rays 1. And just for a little trip down memory lane, let me read you the lineup for that game.
Ooh,
So,
that'll be
so
fun.
this is going to be fun. Grab your tissues. So the Yankees had Knobloch leading off, Jeter, Soho, O'Neill, Williams, Martinez, Raines, Curtis, Posada, Brocious, and then Hernandez, who was then relieved by not John Carlos Stanton, but by Mike Stanton. For the Devil Rays, McCracken, Cairo, Boggs, McGriff, Sorrento, Kelly, Martinez, DeFelice, Stocker, Saunders, Aldred. So kind of cool to see some big time names there, some Hall of Famers there. The Warrior there, Bernie. So yeah, so I thought that was. Oh, and Jonathan, yeah, the question was at the very beginning, and it was, you see there, who was so the Tampa Bay Rays debuted in 1998. Who was the first Yankee pitcher starter to pitch against them? And it was El Duque. And so yeah, congrats, Strike Zone. NFE, great. Yes, you should have said that you just knew it from your baseball IQ. Everyone would have believed that. Yeah, and Jonathan, wow, good historical knowledge there. McGriff was a Yankees, yeah. And we all know what happened to the Yankees in 1998. So So there we are. And there's some talk I heard in the booth from the booth during this series that they're thinking about pivoting back to being the Devil Rays and not just the Rays.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I guess when they were talking about the City Connects they were wearing yesterday. So yes, you're a good man, NFE. Honest as the day is long. Um, and FJ said, in fairness, the Yankees had Mattingly. McGriff was never going to play for us. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're reminiscing about shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and the days gone by, and the great ones that we miss. Um, but um, this has been an amazing way to kick off the day. Let's see, 1 o'clock, what happens to us and how we feel after. Um, to all you moms out there, we definitely want to end the way we started. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Special shout out to my sister Karen and my sister Laura, who's a Mets fan and won't listen, but I'm going to tell her I shouted her out. And to your mom, Jonna, and everyone out there, all of our friends listening, mom, mother figure, role model, we salute you. Um, and so, Jonna, any final words before we say goodbye?
I mean, as always, let's go Yankees.
And as always, you have a reserved seat with us right here on the upper deck. Yes, go Yankees.